Okay, so I assume that you can see my slide well. So I will go to. Okay, so in case that you cannot see my slide, please let me know. Okay, so thank you for attending today's webinar. Today's webinar topic is about the maximizing AI business value creation, utilizing patterns. So basically, I'm the CEO of Tech IPM, is a IP and tech innovation consulting company. I also work with IPwe as a chief evangelist promoting their IP management solution globally. I'm also like a patent attorney, so I work for local Boston boutique. So as you see in my background, I have a 30 years experience in high-tech industry in all kind of different positions. So I can cover not only the technology and IP and also business stuff. So today's agenda, you can see we are going to cover a lot of the topics. So I'm going to talk about state-of-the-art AI innovation. So you can see recently ChatGPT is one of the boom. So a lot of people, even though like normal like people are now considered to use ChatGPT in their everyday their life in just a search and using many different areas. So it's a timely to talk about what the status of AI innovation. And then I'm as a patent attorney, I did a lot of the intensive research on technology innovation based on patents. So I did also the patent landscape for the AI innovations. So I will share that. And then I'm going to talk about the as a business asset. So how we utilize AI patents for the commercial utilization and financial utilization. And then if you are interested in developing new AI patents, usually I work with a lot of the startups to doing this kind of the activities. So I will share about my experience. And then finally, I will introduce IPwe Smart Intelligent Asset Management Platform to how actually use this platform to maximizing AI business value creation, utilizing patents. So because I designed to cover a lot of the topics in an hour, so I'm going to only touch the basic part and then essential part, and then I will share this presentation with I wrote a detailed article about the topics that I cover, so you can see that for the details. Okay, so AI innovations, it cannot cover in a short time, but I think that AI is already in the mainstream in business. So all of the business, at least they have one or two or more AI application in their business operation or business like activities. So the basically what the AI doing is you can see the like they can identify something, right? They call computer vision. So they look at the for example in automotive autonomous vehicle, they look at the surrounding and then find out what the risk of the like object, and then they can maneuver through the automatically using this kind of computer vision, or they can use in the medical device or other things is happening, especially that the ChatGPT they call generative AI, they created something. So recently I have a work with intensely about they call metaverse. So it's like a virtual reality plus reality space integration to show some like a new type of experience. So in that case, actually, you want to build up some 3D environment and 3D object in and then even representing the you by some avatar. So recent trend is it can be done by AI, can create automatically this kind of new like a 3D metaverse environment and place object like a product in 3D space. And then also like the avatars representing you can be put in there. So so basically the today's topic is AI patterns. So why we focus on patterns? Because the pattern is one of the like valuable asset. If they are in the category as intellectual property, like a trademark and like a copyright and trade secret is others, but also like intangible assets. Like for example, you have a like some of the like intangible, then it cannot be tangible. Like a tangible means like a deal tangible as a like a real estate or some product or some other type of you can look at it in reality. But intangible is even in the recently the statistics about the 90% of the S&P 500 assets are intangible, but they are not utilized much. So but even there is a still growth of the patents over time. For example, year 2021, there was a 45 million plus active patent application. So so this shows something that you have a valuable like asset to be utilized, but so their asset increase more and more, but it's not exploit enough. So this is the one thing that you have in mind that, and actually I have experience recently that there are a lot of activities in Wall Street about like how to utilize the traditional asset or and even this kind of intangible asset in a developing new innovation way to financial technology, and then most of the data technology based on AI and the blockchain. So I will introduce them later. And another thing that actually that I focused on this one is I have worked on for two big things recently. One was a sustainability, they call ESG. They take about like environment, and then other was this kind of intangible asset monetization. And then they similarly not likely very similar in a like in a view of the people, but I've looked at two sides and I found the similarity. The similarity is that both are very, very important asset to manage in a company. So usually they can be the interest of the should be interest of the board members, but they are not much. The reason is that because they are intangible and non-financial, means that a lot of the company, for example, sustainability, there are a lot of people talk about that in the year 2021 and after, actually the companies like mission is not just to make a profit, but actually for the stakeholders, for they care about the environment, the society, or something like that. That's a motive in sustainability. And then there are a lot of like activities going on, and then there are a lot of the government regulation to have this kind of efforts as enforcing as obligation to do something like that. And then I think that in both sides actually that they insist that this is very important, and then this should be like at the board level discussion, and they intensively think about it, how to utilize, how to perform it, something like that. Even with that, I found that actually the situation is not. I think that the reason is that the characteristics of these assets, right? Because sustainability and intangible, they are intangible and non-financial, means that they cannot be directly linked with their financial performance. That means profit. So in a like common people, like if you ask someone that actually, can you think about pattern as a link with money? Nobody will say no, right? I think that the sustainability is the same thing. They are for the good. They are for the, we need to care about the climate change. Like there was a lot of the changing the climate, so we need to care about the carbon generation, something like that. But nobody think about the, by doing that, actually that you can think about that they will be contribute the value to your company. No. So that's a situation that will be more accelerated. For example, that because of the the Ukraine-Russian war, there was an energy crisis, and then a lot of people are more concerned about the, for example, also like in other side, like there was a lot of layoff that because of uncertainty in the economic downturn or something like that. So this kind of situation that this kind of like unclear, like monetizable, like a capability, like a patent and the sustainability, they will be far behind the concern in, is like a less priority the concern in board members will have a discussion, right? So that's why I have a lot of the like think about it, that as a professional in this side, that I want to like contribute something that changing this situation, that how I actually can elaborate that changing the people's mind there, the how then actually the best way is to make a business case. Actually the intangibles and then sustainability can actually can create the value in money value, and then so actually the people's in mind that they need to be elaborate to utilizing this kind of valuable asset. That's motivation that I try to develop a lot of the methodologies, and then try to talk with other peers about share this kind of idea that how we can do in collaborative ways. Okay, so having said that, so this is the one actually that recently I was talk about, and that about like AI itself can have in patent like management, like for example AI can like automate like your patent drafting specification and claim, and then they provide a lot of the competitive intelligence landscaping or something like that, and then they also like find out like infringement product. They can provide automated like claim chart or something like that, and even that I'm going to show some solution, IP solution, that the AI can do some like a complex evaluation automatically. And so this kind of thing in happening, even patent office, they utilizing AI for to more like speed up their like patent prosecution stuff or something like that. So this is one trend AI can have the patent management itself. So because I cannot touch the every like topic, so I share this article maybe someone, but I wrote this article, so explain very detailed about the what is the AI can like for example drafting, assessment, valuation can AI power that contribute to this area, so you can read it. And then also I mentioned that AI patent is a very valuable information resources for look at your innovation status. So I also did, and then I look at there are a lot of the activities in filing and prosecuting this generating this kind of the valuable asset in AI. And then I found that AI is one of the most active the patent filing area. So I've over my 30 years that I have worked for in nearly all high tech, and then I found that I don't know about like in life science, but in the high tech area, like for example, like telecommunication, IT, and even this kind of software, the AI, blockchain, big data, something like that. So I think that the telecom is telecom, including IoT, is one of the most active one, and then I followed by this kind of AI. So it'll be over time in near future that this will be the majority that are patent activities. So by considering my experience in historically, that once this gonna happen, and then this kind of ChatGPT like ignite some kind of new market potential. And then there are a lot of the competitions, collaboration is going on that I haven't seen this kind of thing in more than 10 years ago, the smartphone patent war. So I can expect that at the time was a telecommunication and semiconductor area, but now really soft here. So I don't know, but what will be the like a situation will be it will be admirable. But I can imagine that if this kind of situation happen, the competition, a lot of the filing of patents, then economic downturn also, like in 2008 there was an economic crisis. Now it is some kind of like some problem with the downturn. You can look at it recently. There was like Silicon Valley Bank effect, and like in the cryptocurrency bank, some kind of like so you can see that this kind of will be all complex economic situation, and then I expect that there will be something happening with this AI pattern area. So I look at this one, for example, that ChatGPT, that actually it's based on that actually already developed by Google. So they are competitor. OpenAI is supported by the Tesla and Microsoft, especially Microsoft, including this ChatGPT function. Like recently they announced like a GPT-4 version, and then included in the Bing, and then computed with like Google Chrome. So I think that there will be some competition. So I find that this kind of like situation will happen, that I look at it, that this kind of like a ChatGPT actually infringing the Google's patent. So this is one of my crime chat. So this will happen, and then I found that there are a lot of the MPs is going on. So I'm not sure what trigger, but I think that in the future, this kind of complex decision will be coming out by some way. This is my experience, like more than 10 years ago in smartphone patent wars. And then so at the time, actually what this situation is good for, like that I might feel like in people's mind, that patent is very important asset. For example, that this is one example that I tried this kind of like to app for like patent is literally valuable asset, but and I tried to have came up with the idea like how actually the promo like a patent like a asset is very valuable to the company, but nobody actually that. But fortunately at the time there was a large acquisition. I will show you later, and then there was a patent war. And then so for me that actually at the time I started my IP business in Boston area, and then I think about what is my expertise and what kind of thing that at the time. So I decided to work on standard SSL patents. At the time was a fuzzy LT standard SSL patents. I was like experienced as in South Korea. I was a government officer in the like mobile communication standardization. And then was like as a patent agent at the time, and then I started to my law school at the time. So I tried to like integrate it to my expertise, and then I find the topic at the time was at the time there was just started deploying like a 4G LTE in AT&T and then other like providers started. So I choose it, I analyze for a year that I look at the older like a candidate for standard as a patents. And then I consulted one of the big like invest bank in Wall Street, that they call Jeffrey Co. And then they asked me to like they want to like looking at like some stock or some of the like IPO cases to fund. And then they asked me to like who owns like most of the LTE standard as a pattern. I provided that information. And then they published it in Forbes magazine. And then what happened was actually that there are a lot of the big giant papers at the time interesting and contacted me, especially the South Korean giant Samsung. And then at the time was my research for the like who was the rank first, the second, or something like that. I provided information, and then it reported to the like even the executive board member level, and then they get attention, and then they contact me. Something like that. So what I mean is that until something happens, big things happen actually, even top executive board members are not much concerned about this one. And then they just think about like IP department is just a normal operation, just like a filing, managing, and sometimes a licensing traditional way, but no more. So that's one actually that will be changing in as my prediction that the AI space will be the complex economic situation in integrate like a lot of the filing and then economic downturn and then the companies looking for alternative revenue source. Who knows what will happen? So then if you if this kind of trend, I expected the companies who were looking for the alternative like way to like a generate revenue or the more extensively want to looking at utilizing their unutilized like resource intangible asset like a patents. So I try to do have all intensive like research about what kind of like the utilization is available. So I load in here like open innovation and then new product service and the competitive protecting market position, expanding into market, spinning up. There are many kind of things, right? So but I think that the important thing also like a financial utilization is with funding, M&A transaction, licensing, sales, depends against litigation of often litigation of patent back lending, securitization, or recently I mentioned about in the Wall Street there was like asset tokenization, and then the secret token like like integral with like something. Okay, so having said actually that this kind of like a framework or the method is actually the not just me, because other out there are hundreds out there like excellent like a consultant or the companies or in-house counsel or the in-house like a strategy people can do that. But the point is that not just providing this methodology framework, the most important thing is how actually can like realize that through this kind of like a framework or this kind of methodology actually that you can actually monetize. You can have realized value. You can create a real value from your AI pattern, and how actually they can show that how you can provide the confidence to your top executive and board member to have this mind is very important. That's what I'm really desperately looking for. What is the best way looking at? So I'm trying this kind of effort. So I'm not going to detail about this one. I'm going to maybe have a chance to talk about this later more. But this is one example that I've seen in historically that this is one actually that recently I have a lot of the startups in especially in the metaverse and AI, and then they contact me to actually they know about me. I'm not just like a traditional pattern. Actually, just if they provide like a invention like a disclose, and I just testly drafting. I'm not that type of the business. I'm working with the company and then looking at the detail level of their innovation structures, and then find out the way to actually the further innovation and commercialization and what kind of the IP protection is available. And then I collaborate work with like a drafting pattern and then developing and then filing. So I insist that actually for example startups are very limited resources. For example, I also did a lot of this kind of startup, and then even for myself I have a lot of difficulties managing this kind of like IP. So but this is a little valuable in the future. So how much is it valuable that this is one thing that, for example, Notar patents sold for 4.5 billion, and the Google, you can see that Google bought modular mobility like in 2.5 billion, but sell out back to 2.91 except the patents. So you can think about how much it is, about the 10 billion. So if your even your like business gone, you will have this asset left over, they'll be more valuable. And then for example that for LG Electronics in South Korea, actually I was I represent the LG Electronics LT standards pattern to like promoting their licensing or selling in the United States before. And then, so I know about their portfolio. They have very strong portfolio. And then what happened was that actually 2 years ago, they decided to stop like producing their smartphone. So they are no longer doing their like in the traditional like business like the production of the like a smartphone. What happened? They lost a huge amount of like a very high quality patents, and then they generate revenue through this kind of utilizing like the standard patent and other patents to through the licensing. And what happened was that their revenue actually when when they did their like a traditional production business, actually they always in minus in the net profit. Now they're changing the cross profit, right? Because they already have a patent and the only small cost, and the all thing will be profit, right? So this is one thing that people are not much attention, right? Because this isn't valuable. Another example is in the last lab is like a patent valuation is like it is acquired by the Google and 3.2 billion. And at the time was they have a huge patent portfolio, even they build it in 4 years. But it compared with like a smart thing is a very similar like a business in this IoT, like a thermostat IoT smart home connection or something like that. But they're bought by the Samsung by the 200 million. They have no any patent, right? So the difference between valuation 3.2 billion and 200 million, right? So this is the point actually. This will be one example or the few example that you can notice, and this is one actually the top executive or startup founders or your board members should look at it and then think about it, how you utilize your patent portfolios. So so I just like wrote this article. So if you I will share it, and you can look at it, the detail that I have talked about that I in here, that you can go over more detail about how to utilize your and then commercial utilization and also like a financial utilization patents. Okay, so this topic also is like a forward-looking rate actually that you generate AI patterns. So for example, that as I said, a patent is a valuable like asset, can be utilized commercially and financially. Then it is very important that actually how actually the develop patent more valuable, right? This is my like very important like concern about it. Also like this is my major consulting area. So how actually they think about more like a variable. So that means that how you can cover like think about future technology market evolution. So there are many types of ways you can do that. And once you have this kind of like for example, like you need a lot of the research or something like that. And then I think that the point is that the not knowing this kind of methodology, because I have a lot of the connection in in-house counsel in Samsung, LG, and big company HP and Microsoft, Apple, Google, or something like that, and they already know about this. I think this, but the problem is actually the whether they try to do, they have a momentum to do this, right? So this will be the very important thing. That's why we need some collaborative effort to have some framework mind or some mindset, something like that. This should be explored, and this is a really valuable asset. And then at the executive level, not just for the IP department, and then they should be communicated with other like innovation and marketing and even other company operation divisions or something like. They should be collaborate. This is also happened that I've noticed in sustainability. I have found that actually that there was like a sustainability division they usually under like a chief sustainability like officer in a company, but actually they never communicate each other, even if it should be like the entire company's like concern and that they should be communicate. So I found that, so I know why that I explained at the start. Actually, the not many people even in a company wide they not much concerned about pattern or sustainability is their own concern. They only focus on their business, their job duties. But so that's why I think that the top executive level and board level, like some like guidance, and it's very important in a corporation operation, that this kind of targets the executives, and then the board members should be concerned about this one in a like a more synergetic way and a more collaborative. So I don't know what I have in the future, but I'm tried my best. So I also provide you this article so you can look at it, and then what is, especially for the generative AI that I currently focus on. So I wrote an article so you can look at it later. So uh so I will briefly introduce like what kind of like tools can have this kind of thing. So I already talked about it, that the IPS, that is special pattern, is a valuable but not underutilized. And then how actually the maximize this utilization, especially AI patterns. Then it may be in the like human expertise should done, and also like this kind of like the tool can makes you more easier, the cost effective, easier, efficient, and then automated, so like less costly in time and the money or something like that. So this is one I have them to promote their solution, and I found that this is I will look at a lot of the, I will look at it, and I will use, there are many different type of like this kind of IP management, like a platform and solution. I tried many, but I found that this is a very, very comprehensive and very, very like a prospective area. That's why I work with them as a chief evangelist promoting this one, and internally have them to to further develop this platform. So basically, this is a AI and blockchain power total AI asset management solution. So it is based on like a data. So it is a data-driven analytics, data-driven decision-making solution. So the input data is not only the pattern information, but so like the like industry information, marketing information, and other information, relevant information to get to evaluate your company's intangible asset, especially patent portfolio's quality and patent portfolio value. So it generates this kind of quality and value like a scores. And so you can easily figure out that whether you can find out where is a valuable asset you have it, or the what kind of your peers or competitors have a valuable asset in a money value and like a quality value. And then once I figure out, and then it have to maximize a commercial and then in the financial utilization. So for example, in the financial utilization, that actually that it makes your patent as a token that I explained. It is like to make a digital asset, and then store the information in the blockchain. They call it like tokenization, and usually recently they call NFT, is a non-fungible tokens. And then price in the marketplace, and so actually the buyer, seller, licensee, licensor can participate in the marketplace. And then by doing actually that, you have a more transparency, and then you have like a more authorities, and you have a more like a low cost and efficiency. There are many different type of advantage you can have it. Also, they have you to utilizing commercial, like for example, they generate smart pools. So you have a valuable asset that, but not directly utilizing through your product service, and then a lot of people use it through this pool, like a standard like a pool, there is an MPEG pool or something like that. This is a smart pool, but the advantage of this is very low cost, and then operation way actually the easy of the join and then leave. So currently IPwe has this kind of blockchain, metaverse, and AI space and IoT space have 4 different type of of tool, but it will increase more. And also like having in the aspect of smart lending platform. So they like for example, they audit they look at evaluate your patent portfolios, and then they find out the valuable asset can be utilized in further utilizing financially, and then you find it that you can apply for the smart lending, and then you can have that this kind of financing. Okay, so this is what I can share later about the all kind of detail about this information about this IP platform and solutions. And this is one of the demo that you get it. So this is a dashboard of the actual uh, SIEM platform. So whatever you have, for example, this is a Netflix case. So you have like a company name, and then they will look at your whole portfolio, and then they evaluate automatically the value of your asset. And then so this value will be, it will be in a yearly and monthly base, like you can do a historical change of your value. And also like they can like provide some quality measure whether your patent is well qualified as like against like invalidity. So they will look at the prior to search and automatically through the AI, and then they will give you the value information about the quality of your portfolios. And also like they provide compare with your value and quality with your with your peers, and they can divide your like a portfolio depending on your like industry. It's based on CPC and industry code matching. That they divide the like each the like industry at the 30 different area, and then you will look at the which area you have a portfolio is located, and then compare with your peers in depending on your industry sections. So, and then they also provide a lot of the value of information, for example, licensing potential, lending potential, or something like that. So this is the one provide of this SIEM. And this is one thing that is one particularly that I look at it. For example, I already showed that this kind of there was a like the ChatGPT is a read on this kind of Google patterns, and then I tested blind test about like what their value is, and I found that oh they're very good in evaluation around a million, and then 90% of the quality score. So this is a one example actually in the blind test. Through this blind test, so whatever you have a patent portfolios, and for example in the AI patents, and then they have you to figure out which patent is a more valuable and high quality to utilizing commercially and financially. And so and then they will be the whole portfolio look at it, and then they will provide on different type of the like stakeholder, like not just the IP professionals, but also like expert in like for example innovation and financial and startup, and board, even board members can utilize these tools. So this is one other example that so this is one the recent trend in the like they want to make this asset as a token, and then they call it NFT, and they want to provide this one more like a robust way, and the automation, for example, smart contract in blockchain. They can give you like for example the licensing that they will provide the licensing in automatically through this smart contract or something like that. So so I already give you like a financial utilization that this IPwe have a specifically that provide this kind of value to the utilizing your financially in AI patterns. And then also like a commercial operation, they provide, and then for example, there was several use case actually collaborate like a financial institution, large insurance conglomerate, and then also like a smartphone working with this kind of opportunity they can provide. So you can look at it later, detail about if you're interested in, or if you are interested in about this using this SIM, then just contact me. That I link with like in-house like a professional to give you more detailed information and even give you the more detailed demos about it. Okay, so maybe you are not much familiar with this topic like tokenization, securitization, monetization of real world asset, and so I will organize a meeting, and I invited several speakers in Wall Street to activate this area. So it will cover that intangible as another intangible, a lot of the other topics. So if you are interested in this kind of new type of like how to utilize your patents in a different way from the traditional way, then I recommend to attend this webinar. Okay, so I done everything. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes to go more. So is there anyone have any question or any comment? So I will share this presentation and recording so you can look at it later for details. Any questions? Okay, so no more questions. So, okay, so thank you for attending today's webinar. So I hope to see you again in my future webinar.